The doctor kept staring at my blood report like it was lying to him. Then he whispered, "Someone has been poisoning you for months." I smiled, because the worst part wasn't that I was dying. The worst part was that I already knew who wanted me gone. Everyone knew her name. In America, in England, in boardrooms across the United Kingdom, her signature closed billion-dollar deals without negotiation. She was power in heels, steel wrapped in silk, and she had only one weakness: her son. He was raised to rule: private jets before bicycles, strategy meetings before bedtime stories, silence instead of comfort. His mother loved him the way emperors love their crowns, protectively, possessively, without softness. She didn't want him distracted, she wanted him married correctly. I wasn't loud, I wasn't reckless. I listened. I served without kneeling. I spoke without challenging. I was warm, gentle, human, everything her empire lacked. She didn't tell me she was grooming me, she just placed me closer to her son, little by little. He didn't resist. That should have been my first warning. Men like him usually do, but he didn't. He watched me like I was already familiar, like he had already decided. When our hands brushed the first time, his fingers didn't pull away. They lingered, testing. He courted me beautifully. Morning messages, unexpected kisses, hands always finding my lower back in public. At night, he held my face like he needed to memorize it. His kisses were slow, claiming, intentional, the kind that make a woman feel chosen. I fell in love the way women fall when they feel safe, completely. His mother watched me closely, how I sat, how I spoke, how I loved his son. When he proposed, she nodded once. Approval. That was my promotion. It was private, elegant. Powerful people flew in from France, Germany, America. When he kissed me at the altar, his hands trembled. I mistook that for emotion. That's when Clara moved in. The chef. She had always been there, his mother's chef since childhood. She knew his favorite meals before he learned to ask for them. She moved through the kitchen like memory. I didn't feel threatened. She smiled at me warmly, too warmly. She never asked what I liked. She already knew what he liked. Every meal tasted perfect. Every dish arrived steaming, prepared with devotion. At night, my husband was attentive. He kissed me deeply, like he was anchoring himself. His hands explored me slowly, reverently. Afterward, he stayed close, forehead against mine, breathing steady. I believed in us. It started small: fatigue, dizziness, a strange metallic taste after meals. Clara suggested herbal teas. My husband insisted I rest. They were so caring. Weeks passed. My strength faded. I lost weight. Doctors said stress. My husband looked worried. Clara cooked lighter meals, gentler meals. I kept swallowing. I didn't need money. I needed meaning. So I joined an NGO, medical outreach, humanitarian work. Serving made me feel alive again. They insisted on routine tests, blood work, scans. The nurse didn't meet my eyes. The doctor closed the door. Then he spoke carefully. "There's a compound in your system, slow acting, industrial grade. Poison, not accidental, deliberate." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. My first thought was, who benefits if I die? And the answer came too easily. I walked back into the house smiling. I kissed my husband. I thanked Clara for dinner. I swallowed nothing. I started watching. Whispers that stop when I enter, doors closing softly at night, my husband leaving our bed quietly, Clara's room light glowing. I tell myself I'm imagining it. That night alone, I held my test results. They thought I was weak. They thought I was fading. They thought I was almost gone. They were wrong. Because when a woman realizes she was chosen only to be erased, She doesn't disappear. She plans.
I stopped swallowing my food. I stopped drinking the tea. And slowly, I stopped being the woman they thought they were killing. I let my hands shake. I let my steps slow. I let my husband help me to bed like I was fragile glass. He watched me carefully, concern on his face, guilt nowhere near his eyes. When he kissed my forehead, I felt it, the calculation. I didn't sleep. I lay still, breathing slow. Then I heard the door. Soft, intentional, footsteps. Not rushing, confident. I waited. Then I heard her voice. Low, familiar. Clara. I followed quietly, bare feet on cold marble. The guest room door was half closed, and through the crack, I saw them. Not rushed, not hidden, comfortable. His hand rested on her waist like it belonged there. Her fingers traced his jaw like she'd done it 1,000 times. This wasn't new. This was history. He leaned into her, forehead to forehead, eyes closed. He smiled. I had never seen that smile with me. This one was free, unburdened, real. I was never the wife. I was the obstacle. I watched them kiss, slow, unashamed. Her hands moved like she knew his body better than I ever would. And I stood there, silent, letting it carve something new inside me. They talked. About me. Like I wasn't alive. She's getting weaker, Clara said. She won't last long, he replied. They laughed softly, like lovers planning a future. I went back to bed, curled into his side. He returned later, slipped in beside me, wrapped his arm around my waist. I let him. I let him hold the woman he was killing. I wasn't dying anymore. The poison was leaving my body, and something else was growing. I started documenting everything. Meals, times, behaviors. I hired private investigators in England, forensic experts in Germany, legal consultants in America. Quietly, professionally. I praised Clara's food. I smiled at my husband. I let them believe I was fading. They stopped being careful. The final proof. Hidden cameras, audio recordings, messages, evidence of poisoning, evidence of inheritance manipulation, evidence of conspiracy. I didn't rush. I wanted them confident. I planned a dinner. Just us. Clara cooked. Of course she did. I served the wine myself. Halfway through dinner, I stood up. I wasn't weak. I wasn't shaking. I was steady. Alive. I placed the files on the table. Recordings played. Faces drained. Clara froze. My husband stood up, angry, panicked. The evidence went everywhere. Media, courts, boardrooms. The empire froze his accounts. His inheritance was suspended. His mother saw everything. She never looked at him again. Clara was arrested. Poisoning, conspiracy, attempted murder. She screamed his name. He didn't answer. I took control of the estate. I moved him into a guest wing. Security monitored him. He wasn't allowed near me. The man who owned everything now needed permission to breathe. I visited Clara in prison. I looked perfect, healthy, alive. I leaned close and whispered, "He chose me because I was useful. He chose you because you were convenient. Neither of us was loved." He begged, cried, promised. I watched quietly, then said, "You poisoned the wrong woman." I didn't destroy them all at once. That would have been mercy. I didn't divorce him immediately. I let him stay married to me, legally bound, publicly humiliated, unable to move on. Every woman he tried to speak to Googled his name and froze. The headlines followed him like a smell. Billionaire heir implicated in wife poisoning plot. No woman wanted him. No board trusted him. No room welcomed him. I stopped speaking to him. Completely. Not anger. Not insults. Nothing. He would beg for reactions. Tears. Rage. Forgiveness. I gave him absence. He would stand in the doorway, talking into the quiet, and I would keep reading. One night, he said quietly, "You never loved me, did you?" I looked up, calm, then said, "I loved who I thought you were. You loved what I gave you," and went back to my book. Clara's punishment was slower. I made sure her sentence wasn't dramatic, just long. Long enough for youth to leave her face. Long enough for mirrors to become cruel. Long enough for him to forget the sound of her voice. I never visited her again. That was intentional.
I didn't take the empire. I dismantled it, piece by piece, sold it, redirected funds, donated large portions to the very NGOs that saved my life, in England, in Germany, in America. His legacy became my mercy project. His name was erased from what he thought was eternal. He wasn't punished because he cheated. He wasn't punished because he poisoned me. He was punished because he underestimated my patience. He asked one final question, voice hollow. "Did you ever think of forgiving me?" I stood, looked at him fully, and said, "Forgiveness requires regret. You only regret losing." Then I walked away. Clara stayed in prison, he stayed alive, and I stayed untouchable. They wanted me gone so they could be together forever. Instead, they got exactly what they deserved, each other's absence, my silence, and a future where my name is the only one that survived. They tried to poison me quietly, so I destroyed them politely and slept better than I ever did beside them. I walked out of the estate into the morning, free. They tried to erase me. Instead, I erased the version of myself that loved them.